Back in 2018, I signed up to a course called Association of Certified Chartered Accountant. And as someone with finance and banking degree, I thought this was going to be an easy ride until I got the result of my very first exam paper, which was failed. And this was the reason why I really had to look at my study plan and my study techniques to see what actually went wrong and to see what I could do better. And over time, I've come up with the exact formula which has helped me to be consistent with my study and never fail any exam ever again. All of this while having a full-time job and some sort of a life. Honestly, I've seen so many people who started some sort of professional qualification right around the same time as me or even before me, and until now they still haven't finished. So these tips, although very much applicable to ACCA students, they are also applicable to anyone studying for any qualification while having a full-time job. And we'll be touching on a few things which are identify your purpose, understand the science of self-control and willpower, never rely on motivation, and having the right support. I think one of the main questions that we need to ask ourselves for whatever we are doing or trying to do is, why are we doing this thing for? Because if the reason is not compelling enough, there is less chance of succeeding. So find the inner purpose of why are you doing this study, what are you looking to achieve at the end of it, will make it easier for you to stick to the study while having a full-time job. For me, I can sometimes be secretly competitive, and when I moved to the UK in 2018, I really felt like I was behind comparing to the rest of my peers. So at the time, I had only one goal, which was to double my income every 3 years. And I knew that the only way that I could do that was pursuing my ACCA, finishing it, and then I will be qualified, and then I can earn a qualified accountant salary. So my goal at the time was money or career driven. But however generic your goal can be, it could be something like being the best version of yourself or being the better person today than yesterday, which is kind of what drives me to learn now. And although I finished my ACCA, at the moment I am still learning and studying while having a full-time job. I'm learning how to better manage my money, I'm learning how to invest. So whatever it is, you need to figure this out for yourself, really understand what drives you and relate your study to what drives you and what keeps you going. Now when it comes to self-control and willpower, I am sure all of us at least once in a lifetime has been on a diet, and I'm sure you may have noticed that it is easier to resist having sweets, treats, snacks or any naughty food, the foods that you shouldn't have, earlier on in the day rather than later. And that is basically the science of self-control and willpower. According to Brett Miller, the more tired, drained and worn out we are, the more our self-regulation suffers, whether we are trying to regulate our behaviors, our thoughts, or our emotions. And it's not just a diet, it also goes for anything else. For example, quitting cigarettes, trying to stay sober, exercise, and trying to study. Anything that requires certain level of difficulties, you're more likely to stick to it when you're not tired. And the truth of the matter is, as the day goes by, our energy naturally decreases, so we become more tired, which means that our self-control and our willpower also decreases throughout the day. And if you're now thinking that I would recommend you to get up at 5 o'clock to do any study, then no. I truly believe and have observed that it's not actually about the time that you get up, but it is more so about how you structure your day while you're awake. So with that in mind, it does make sense to schedule the most mentally draining or intellectually challenging tasks earlier on in the day and progress through the day with less mentally and intellectually challenging tasks. So for example, how I would structure my day is that in the mornings, even before starting work, I would structure certain things, certain tasks that are mentally challenging for me, or the tasks that I'm most likely to say no to later on in the day. So that would be something like study or scripting YouTube videos, because that takes a lot of research, so that's quite intellectually challenging, or exercise, because that is the task task or the activity that I am most likely to say no to later on in the day. And when I start working, I would apply the same technique. So in the morning, I would fill my morning with analysis work or prepare presentation or scheduling meetings that I need to make decisions on. And later on in the afternoon, I would do more process-driven tasks such as issuing invoices, bank reconciliations, or producing certain reports that don't really require any sort of analysis. And in the evenings, I normally reserve those times for friends and family or relaxing activities. And on certain days, I will also continue to do process-driven tasks such as editing YouTube videos or planning content for the coming weeks. And this is probably going against what people are saying, because I hear this all the time where people say they haven't passed the exam or they haven't got time to study because they don't feel motivated. But the thing is, you cannot rely on motivation. First and foremost, it is imperative to really understand what it actually takes, how much effort it takes to study. Because I'm pretty sure this has happened before where you sit down, do your study, and you kind of think you're ready, but then when you sit the exam, you don't get the same result that you thought you would get. There is a clear correlation between time spent on certain things and becoming an expert in something. And if you spend enough time studying, you may not become an expert, however, you can be pretty good at it. So therefore, saying that your main goal is to study simply isn't good enough. You need to be very specific. So for example, when I was studying for my ACCA, I had a very specific hours that I would put in for each exam papers. I would put in between 80 hours to 90 hours for all the F papers and up to 120 hours for all the P papers. And once I implemented that, it was life-changing because I never failed again. And when I'm talking about 80 hours, 90 hours, and those were quality uninterrupted hours. So with those, I could really take a lot of information in without being distracted. And even now, I still apply the same technique to my current learning or study. So YouTube, for example, I know it will probably take me about 100 videos until I get comfortable in front of the camera, and that's something that I'm still working towards. Another reason why you can't really rely on motivation is that motivation itself, it doesn't really last, and it's not the thing that will keep you going when you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like doing anything. However, once you make progress in something, in a task or an activity, or have success in something, you're more likely to feel motivated. So it is actually more helpful for us to rely on progress and success rather than relying on motivation. And the way that you can rely on your progress is that when you have come up with your study plan, you follow it, you see some success, and then you keep repeating it consistently. And the more progress you make, the more motivated you will feel. And do understand that studying while you're trying to maintain a job or performing at your job can be very, very difficult. So at times you are going to need to ask for support and understanding from people around you. I have learned to communicate to my family very clearly when I need to study and when I am free. And I do this by utilizing shared Google Calendar, where I schedule in all the plans for my study for the next 2 weeks so that my husband knows that those times are the times that he can't plan anything for us. And by implementing all these, I was able to finish my ACCA in 3 years with full-time job, actually full-time demanding job. However, everyone has a different circumstance, so never really compare yourself with other people. I don't have children. If I were to have any children, it would probably take me 1 or 2 more years to complete. And obviously, if you need any guidance or any advice or just someone to talk to about your ACCA journey, then you know where to find me, either on here or on Instagram. And if you want to schedule a session with me to chat with me about ACCA study, you can now book a session with me. I will leave the link to my one-on-one half-an-hour session in the description below. And if you do like and enjoy these sort of like productivity or study tips, do let me know in the comments. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.